Welcome to the Chapter 3 Stigma podcast. This podcast was created to be there for any individual who feels that they are at a low point in life and are confused, seemingly alone, and helpless in their situation. I am a recovering alcoholic, and I felt this way too, until I sat across a table from another addict who shared his story and made me realize that I was not alone in my struggles. My life was saved by this realization, and I hope to help anyone struggling by sharing my story to show you that you are not alone and that life can contain unbelievable riches and meaning. Welcome. I am glad you are here. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of the Chapter 3 Stigma podcast. For this week's episode, I am actually going to open up about some work that I've been putting in over the last few months. In last week's episode with Alyssa, I had brought up really for the first time the piece of work that I've been putting in over the last number of months. I actually sat down for the first time on August 8th of 24 and started the process of writing this whole story out of what we have been through over the last 2 years, but even stretching back further, where the road that Alyssa and I and my family has traveled throughout my battle with addiction and alcoholism. I sat down initially and still continue to work today with the motivation, not even motivation, but the vision of one day being able to hand over a finished copy of this work to Grant and to any other children that Alyssa and I might have, to just help connect them with the struggle and the perseverance that our family showed throughout this time. So often when we go through times of struggle in the weeks, months, years afterwards, you start forgetting. And a weird aspect of the human condition is you can almost downplay some of the aspects of suffering. I didn't want to forget any of that. I didn't want the pain and the anguish to dissipate before capturing this. And so I sat down for the first time on August 8th of 24, which is a significant date for us. It was a 1-year anniversary of discovering Lucy's health condition. And so I thought it would be a really impactful part of our own healing journey, and it really has proven to be such. But it has definitely grown and taken on a life of its own. And so just yesterday, I hit a pretty big milestone in submitting a draft to take the next steps in the editing process. Should this thing get to the point of a full published release, probably looking in the early 2026 timeframe. Just kind of not wanting to push too hard on it, keep a nice steady pace going, and just kind of plug into the way that these things kind of wind up taking on life of their own. So I have picked out a chapter that has largely been refined and worked on in a pretty significant manner. It is the chapter that opens up the section of the book where I've entered into rehab. And so I wanted to share it with you all in this week's episode. And I'm going to read half the chapter, and then the second half of the chapter I'm actually going to post to the Substack channel this week. So again, for those of you who might not subscribe or follow along the Substack channel, you can just search Chapter 3 Stigma Substack, or if you have the Substack app, search Chapter 3 Stigma. It's also linked in the show notes of this podcast episode. So with that, to the book, and I'm actually holding back on sharing any working title that I have for this piece of work right now. It's not been decided or settled, but this chapter is titled Hope. You look scared. The bluntness of the statement, stated in such a kind and soft tone, startled me back into the room. I looked over from staring at the wall to the man standing in front of me in scrubs. I am, I responded, not willing to lie any longer. 8 years ago, I was in your exact shoes. I was scared too. Just know this, you're in the right place. Everyone in here has your best interests at heart. I forced a smile. It felt fake. I didn't know if I believed that statement. This is the tough part. Hand me over your wallet and phone. I'll bring it to the front station to check in for the month, and I'll give you two 5 minutes to say goodbye. I emptied my pockets, and Aaron, the technician, left the room. I turned towards Alyssa, sitting next to me at the table. How had things come to this? I brought my eyes up from staring at the floor to meet hers. How had I lost so much control? My mind flashed back through the previous days that blended and wove together in a confusing, drunk amalgamation. The warmth of the sun and watching my brother-in-law Ryan playing out front with Grant. He was pulling dandelions and teaching Grant how to blow the seedlings off as Grant shrieked with glee. A blur in time and then another memory. Complete despair and embarrassment as I sat on the phone with my parents. Them imploring me to be honest so that they could help in any way. Them begging me to go to the hospital to be seen. Knowing with certainty that I had completely failed them as a son. The hospital, the feeling of the IV line running across my arm, the noise and mechanical coldness of the MRI machine running. While I still desperately clung to the last moments of my lie and imagined my life finally coming to a close. Alyssa, sitting there in the chair next to me when the nurse came in to report on their findings, declaring that there were no major markers that indicated psychosis, but that there was alcohol present in my blood. A lot. Finally, Grant, sitting on my knees, watching him playing with his toys, unaware of the decision that was just made for me to leave for a month. With my own father sitting in the room, I admitted to him my greatest fear, that I pass this disease on to Grant, and that he would one day suffer as I had the past 12 years. I found myself back in the intake room, alone with Alyssa. Words seemed impossible. All we could think to do was embrace. We pulled back from our embrace and looked straight in each other's eyes, and Alyssa stated words that I would center my life on from that point forward. Kyle, I know that you care for Grant and I, but you can't do this for us anymore. Please find a way to do this for yourself. Her tone had a firmness and strength to it that embedded those words deep into my core. We will manage while you are gone. We just want you back. Aaron entered back into the room to walk Alyssa out of the facility. Grant and I will see you next weekend during visiting hours. We love you, Kyle. And then she was gone. I was alone. I didn't feel capable of making it through the next 28 days in this place. Sadness fell over me that I had pushed our family to this extreme. Walking through those front doors of the rehabilitation facility had taken every ounce of energy out of me, and as I sat there in the intake room, I felt a level of exhaustion that I have never experienced before in my life. Despite the shock and exhaustion that I felt, I realized that a significant weight had lifted from me as well. I thought about all the energy and the creativity that I poured into 12 years of denying myself as an alcoholic and the last 2.5 years of crafting the largest lie I have ever managed in my life. It was a sudden and real sensation of relief that I did not have to lie or run anymore. I could finally stop to turn around and face the thing that I had been avoiding for so many years of my life. As beat down and exhausted as I felt in the moment, I also felt something else. Hope. In those first moment sitting alone in the intake as Alyssa was being escorted out of the building, I made myself two promises. The first was that I was going to listen to Aaron's words and trust the people here in rehab. I was going to assume that every activity had a purpose, and I was going to put my best effort forward that I possibly could in each moment of the day. I had tried overcoming alcoholism on my own, and it clearly had not worked. It was time for me to listen and trust others once again. The second promise was that every single time that I passed a mirror, I needed to look into my own eyes in the reflection and speak the words, "I love you," out loud to myself. I knew that I hated myself. I could already recognize that, in part, I drank because I hated myself and hated myself because I drank. If I was going to have a reset in my relationship with alcohol, I should probably reset my relationship with myself at the same time. The initial shock of the moment dissipated with my commitment to myself, and as Aaron entered back into the room, I rose, still aware of the fear, but ready to get started. Aaron walked me through the facility, pointing out a few of the highlights of the space, but also opening up about his own journey. I was an addict and finally became a patient here 8 years ago. I've been clean and sober ever since. He waved to a woman in scrubs who was walking the empty hallway. I started working here a few years ago, and it helps me significantly in my recovery journey. Aaron motioned to a glass wall in the hallway that was filled with about 20 people lining its perimeter, all in chairs. "This is the fishbowl," Aaron said. "Group B meets here during group sessions. That's the group that you will be in." I immediately surveyed the individuals sitting around the room. I am not sure what I was expecting to find, but what my eyes took in caught me off guard. People of every shape and form filled the chairs. My judgmental stereotyping of the space showed stay-at-home moms, over-the-hill cankerous fathers, young thugs, prison-hardened individuals, and a few misfits all sitting calmly in a room together. As I looked in on them, some of them turned around to look at me, the fresh blood, and I quickly wanted to move on from this space of judgment. As if on cue, Aaron motioned for us to continue moving. They're about to break for lunch, and then afternoon group sessions will begin after that. You do not have to join them today. You're on detox watch these next 3 days. Aaron motioned to the yellow band they had placed around my wrist upon check-in. So you have more freedom to come and go from sessions as you please. The idea of seeking safe asylum from the group that we had just looked upon sounded appealing to me. But then my first promise to myself came flashing through my mind. Without saying anything, I knew that I would be in group sessions today at the first opportunity. "I'll be honest, detox isn't fun," Aaron continued, as we maintained meandering around the perimeter of the building. "The pills they give you will make you feel odd, but we have to do it because of the seizure risk with alcoholism. Once you're done with them, we'll cut the band off and you can use the workout space, sign up for 15-minute outbound phone calls, and attend offsite group sessions with your group. Until then, you're constrained to just participating in the programming we run here in-house." I nodded along, finding ourselves back at the front of the facility near the nursing station and where I had entered the building only an hour ago with Alyssa. "Well, that's everything. There's not much here besides the basics to get you healthy. Just remember that everyone is here to help you recover." Suddenly, a stream of people started exiting out of the corridor that led to a large community space. "Looks like group just wrapped up and everyone's headed to lunch," Aaron said, smiling and waving at the patients as they walked by. "Why don't you head to the cafeteria and get some lunch with them?" So with that, I'm going to pull out of that chapter, again, titled Hope. Let me know what you think. This has been largely a secret piece of work. I've shared it with a few folks that are close to me. No one but my wife has seen the full extent of the work, and honestly, at this time, the version that she got has been largely reworked. This has definitely been a huge part of the healing process, both in terms of making long-term recovery really stick and sink in for me, as well as just continuing to work and try to understand what it means to live with the loss of a child. So it, at the very least, has served that purpose. Again, I'm very humbled and honored at this point to have really hit what feels like a milestone where I could actually achieve the vision that I first set out on, where one day I'll have a piece of work that I can hand to a child to just show them what kind of heart they have by being a part of our family, by just being a human being, what sort of persistence, grit, and determination, and ultimately love and sacrifice lives within them. So with that, that's all I've got this week. Love y'all. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with others who might find it impactful, and give us a rating through your streaming platform of choice. Ratings and comments help spread the work to others who are desperately searching for a solution. This simple action could have profound impacts on the lives of others. My hope is that my story can help those who feel alone in their struggles with addiction or any other aspects of life. You can follow us on social media at Chapter 3 Stigma on Instagram and YouTube. If you want to reach out with a message through one of those channels, I will respond and let you know that you are not alone. All the best, you are loved, and know that this life is full of abundant joy and wonder, and is worth every struggle and bit of suffering you must endure. Until next time.